Okay, so I have been thinking a lot about how I would use Jules in my day to day workflow. And I really wanted to reduce as much friction as possible because for me, when I'm using Jules, it's usually when I'm doing something else. And so, like, I'm either coding or I'm writing a document and I'm like, oh, Jules could help with this. And so then I open up the web app, I enter in all the information, make sure my repo is connected, etc., and kick it off. Then what I do is I go back to what I was doing, and a lot of times I forget that I kicked off a task with Jules, and I forget until like hours later, and then I go back to Jules and I either find out that it got stuck or it didn't start or something happened, and then I get really frustrated. So I wanted to explore something that was sort of in the periphery of where I am working a lot, which is a lot of times inside my IDE. And I got this idea that I could have Jules in the status menu, which is often where I just like have different apps running and I try to keep it pretty clean, but I wanted to see and explore how Jules could fit in there and give me information about how it's working. And then I could also kick off tasks from the status bar from Jules on my desktop application and get information about what Jules is doing, etc. So I did that. Let me show you a little bit about this exploration. So I've got Jules running up here, and when I open it up, I get information about all the things that I've asked Jules to do so far, and then I also have my repositories and I have the different branches that I can choose. So I'm going to work on front end app and in the develop branch. And the other thing I did was I get really frustrated when I like copy and paste a bunch of code into the prompt input, and it takes up so much space that it's hard for me. I'm scrolling and scrolling, and it's hard for me to know, like, okay, what am I prompting versus getting reference about where the code is and stuff like that. So I did this where when you paste in a whole big huge code block, it just appends that as a code attachment. And then I get all of the space of the input box to actually enter in my prompt. Then I did something else that I really wish Jules would do, which is I want to make sure that it's actually able to reference things inside my GitHub repo. So I can ask it at issue number 1308, and it immediately renders that as an issue, the way that GitHub would render issues if you're referencing them. So then I get some little visual cue that it knows what issue 1308 is, and it's going to pull in that information. So let's go ahead and submit that task. So I immediately get this task submitted status, and then I also up here, you can see that Jules is starting to work. It's starting to run and work on this task, and I get some information here saying, hey, Jules is starting 12 seconds ago, etc. And it's kind of tossing this ball back and forth. So while we're waiting for Jules to come up with a plan, so right now Jules is planning, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's going on down here. These are all the various different tasks that I have kicked off with Jules. And so you see that this one's starting, this one's running, I have some ready for review, and I have some that need my attention. So I get a little bit of information about all of these things, and so it gives me some information about how much code it is written and where what PR that's attached to. So if I wanted to open this PR, I could just click on that and it'll open up, actually this is an issue, it'll open up issue number 67 for me. And if I wanted to also, I could say, you know what, I want to go work in the Jules web application, so I can actually open up Jules directly from here too. So all of these are linked, they're contextual based on, and give me kind of various different options for how I want to interact with Jules. And then I can also, since this says it's ready for review, I can go here and I get this little task menu. And on each of these, I get a different task menu, and they're contextual. This hasn't written any code for me yet, so I don't have the ability to view files because they're not there. But I can go here and I can say, hey, view files. And what that's going to do is instead of opening up in the web app, I work primarily locally. And so I want it to open up in my local VS Code editor because that's where I'm super comfortable reviewing code. So I'm going to say, hey, open this up, and it opens up that button file right inside of VS Code, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, so now it looks like Jules has gone from tossing the ball to now it's kind of filling up with this green ink. And that means that it is running. And so if I were to open this up, I could see that Jules is running, and it started running 16 seconds ago. It hasn't written any files yet. And so I can't really look at it, but I do know that it is running. I could go and look at that in the Jules application to see the plan that it's executing on. Oh, and it looks like as Jules was running, it looks like Jules ran into an issue. So Jules needs some help. It ran into a failed test and needs me to review it before I move forward. So I just wanted to demonstrate a little bit about what I was talking about with Jules kind of running in the periphery. I could be working on this button here and then never know that Jules ran into this issue because I don't have the web application open. What's nice about this is I can leverage it being a Mac OS application to tap into the notifications that Mac has built in. So I can say, hey, allow notifications from Jules, and then every time it runs into an issue, it can prompt me. And so then I know where Jules needs more information. I know that I can know like when it's done with the task, etc. So I don't run into that same issue where I would set Jules off doing something and then totally forget about it. Okay, so now it looks like Jules has given me the little check mark. It's ready for review. So I can go in and see more information. I can go and check out that code, etc. So this is just an application that's fully working. It's not wired up to the actual Jules API, but I'd really love some feedback on this. It'd be awesome if people are interested in this and want to help me wire this up to the Jules API. That'd be really cool. What I really like about doing this kind of thing is my workflow may be completely different from other people's workflow. And I think it'd be really cool if we start to build the API such that people like me could use it to build little tools and things like this with Jules. We have people using, building the GitLab integration. We have somebody building a CLI for Jules. And I think it'd be cool to share that work with each other and really enable that, because we can't build every single solution for every single developer out there. But what we can do is open up Jules for people to start to explore and tinker and hack around and maybe share their work. And that could be really useful for other folks. So super curious what folks think of this and if you think this would be useful. And if anybody wants to pair on anything like this, I would love to help. So let me know what you think.